So now that we've said that we want to create a custom initializer, let's go ahead and copy this method name, and we go into our cctask.m file, and let's go ahead and implement this initializer. So we're going to go ahead and add curly braces. And since this is going to be our designated initializer, we have to add a line of code here that says self is equal to super init. And what we're doing here is we're saying that this instance of cctask will use its superclass as initializer first before it adds its own custom functionality onto this initializer. So specifically, we're going to use the initializer from NSObject. Next, we can go ahead and say if the initialization worked, let's go ahead and add curly braces, and we're going to be able to say self.title is equal to data, and we're going to use, since our data is parameter here is of type NS dictionary, we're going to be able to say, give it a key here, we're going to say task underscore title, and this should return an NS string object that we can set equal to our title. Let's go ahead and set up our description next. We can say data, and we're going to say task underscore description, and we can set up our date next. We're going to say self.date is equal to data task, and we can say date, and we can set up our completion, so is completed. We're say equals data, and we're say task completion. And since we're going to have to store this as an NS number, we're going to have to convert this to a bool, so we're going to say bool value, right? Because we're not going to be able to store primitives in our dictionary, we're only going to be able to store an NS number or a wrapper around a bool. So here we're able to call the method bool value on the returned NS number, which we know will contain a boolean, and we'll be able to set that to our property is completed. Finally, we're going to return the new instance. So we're going to return ourself, and we've now set up a designated initializer. There's one other step we need to do here, and for the initializer we immediately get, which is init, we need to tell this initializer to use the designated initializer. So let's go ahead and type in id init. We see the autofill here. We can add curly braces. And let's say self is equal to self init with data. And we're going to pass nil in here. And we're also going to return self. So what are we doing here? We're saying if for some reason the user uses just the regular initializer, well, we're going to have to go through the designated initializer. We're going to say the instance is equal to our designated initializer. And we're going to pass nil in because we're not going to have an argument in this case. Otherwise, we would have used our new initializer here. And finally, we're going to return the instance of our self. Right? So it's going to go through here. It's not going to set up any of these properties. It's going to return self. And then we're going to set that equal to our self. And finally, we're going to return our self. I know it's a lot of use of self here, but this is just kind of the format you have to get used to when you use custom initializers. And we've seen in our previous demo, and we'll see in this project, that having custom initializers is really handy because it saves us a lot of steps and allows us to create objects with values. And that's really helpful when we're preparing code. But the best way to get used to custom initializers is continuing to use them. So that's one of the reasons we're using this design inside of the cctask file.